Hiya friends, Prepared Suburbanite here. I spent the last couple of days getting ready for fall and winter weather, and it's been kind of interesting to do that. And as I was trying to take care of a few things around here to make sure that we were set for fall and winter, and I thought I'd share a couple of those little clips with you during the course of this video. And I also spent a bit of time reminiscing about the old days and want to share a few things with you about that. So stick around, will ya? So to start off, I fired up the chainsaw. It's about 3 years old now. It's an it's a steel MS 250. Pretty much just homeowner grade. It's not anything super special, but with all the woods that I've got around here, we get a number of dropped trees and limbs and stuff during the course of the year that I've got to keep that thing fired up. So the other day I got it down, got it all gassed up, checked the oil, gave it a couple of starts, and it popped right off. Used it a little bit to do a little bit of cleanup here and there, and it seems to work fine. But that's kind of part of the getting ready for fall and getting ready for winter kinds of things, because I usually lose a couple of trees or limbs or whatever in the fall and certainly during the winter, and it's always nice to know that the chainsaw is ready to go when I need it to go. So I do take time to make sure that it's topped off with gas, that it starts okay, that the spark plug's okay, that the air filter's clean, the chain's sharpened up, and it's ready to go when I need it. The other thing that I do on a regular basis, most of the time quarterly if I can remember to do it, but I've got 2 portable generators from Champion, and I like to bring them out every couple, 3 months and fire them up and let them run for 10, 15, 20 minutes just to let them warm up and get all lubricated and all that, and it really does seem to add to the longevity. I did take a clip of that. Unfortunately, I didn't have my camera ready when I was doing the chainsaw work, but I did grab the camera and filmed a little bit of that, so you'll see that as we go along. I think a single pull on the first one and maybe 2 or 3 pulls on the second one. They're stackable, so and I've got the bracket to power them together so that I can get pretty much twice the stuff out of it. I can run the freezer on it for short periods of time, and so it's pretty powerful as a unit and very portable for the individual units by themselves. And the other thing that I like to do every fall is to check all the exterior faucets on the house to make sure that I've got the hoses disconnected. I got burned a number of years ago when we lived in New Hampshire. I forgot to disconnect a hose, and if you've ever been to New Hampshire in the wintertime or even in the late fall, you know how cold it can get up there. And we got enough cold weather one particular night, it really did deep, and it burst the pipe inside the house, spraying water all over the place because it froze up, and kaboom, down it went. So had to pay a little bit of extra to get the thing all fixed back up and all that, but that was a lesson learned. So now I make sure that when winter sets in, and I don't really have to worry about it too much here in North Carolina, but in January and in February, it certainly does get cold enough to freeze water in a hose, which can back up into the faucet, which can make it crack, and then you start leaking, you got a big problem. So I just make sure that long about Thanksgiving to Christmas time, when I really don't need hoses outside that I just disconnect everything, make sure the water's turned off, and just kind of make that happen that way. So I mentioned doing some reminiscing, moving some stuff around in one of our storage units, and found an old photo album that belonged to the family and started leafing through it, just taking a short break, and man, the memories really started coming back. I grew up in a small city in upstate New York, and my dad was a railroad engineer, so definitely blue collar. My mom was a part-time, when necessary, secretary. She did a little bit of that work here and there, but not very often. My mom was really kind of like the mom on Leave It to Beaver. She was truly June Cleaver. She wore the pretty print dresses and an apron, and always had her hair done, very methodical in how she approached things. It was, because I think, if memory serves, Monday was wash day, so she would gather up all the dirty laundry and all that, and spend the whole day washing clothes, and the washer and dryer were down in the basement, and she had a work table down there. And so she'd spend all day Monday doing the washing and drying and folding stuff, getting it ready. Tuesday was ironing day, so she would take, work shirts and dress shirts and stuff like that, and her dresses, and iron them. So she'd spend 3 or 4 hours even standing in front of the television set where we had black and white console thing, and 3 channels, I think, and she'd watch soap operas and stuff in the afternoon while she was ironing her dresses and my dad's shirts and my clothes and my sister's clothes. So that was part of her routine. So that was Tuesday. Wednesday was house cleaning day. So she'd run the vacuum cleaner, do the dusting, wash a couple of windows here and there, and just make sure that everything was nice and neat and tidy and clean in the house. Thursday was grocery shopping day. It was payday for my dad. He got paid weekly, and I can remember going to the yard office at the railroad yards and pulling in, picking up his check. Mom would then drive to the bank, cash his check, and we'd go pay bills. So one week we'd go to the gas and electric company and pay the bill there. Then we'd go to the phone company and pay the bill there. And then this place and that place. And then we'd finally stop at the last place and get groceries at the local grocery store, and put them in the trunk of the car, drive home, unpack everything, and then she'd start making dinner. So that was generally what happened on Thursdays. Friday was kind of her day. Friday was the day that she worked on things that she enjoyed doing, whether it was crocheting or knitting or being involved in civic organizations and stuff like that. So that was pretty much her day. And then most of the time my dad was off on Saturdays and Sundays, so that was family day. And Saturdays, usually my dad and I were out in the yard doing work, fixing stuff, doing this, doing that, and Mom would be making regular Saturday dinners and getting stuff around and just kind of enjoying the weekend. And Sundays was a day of, it was our Sabbath, and we'd go to church, generally early service, and go through that. I was generally back in just a single-digit-year-old kid in Sunday school, and so spend an hour or so in Sunday school, and then joined my parents in the church and my older sister in the church, and listen to the sermon and pack up everything and head on home, and always had a big Sunday dinner, roast beef or a turkey or a ham, something. Always a big Sunday dinner. My dad and I'd watch football. So it was pretty much a very pristine childhood that I really enjoyed, and think back fondly of all the memories. And you know, I see popping up on my wife's Facebook every once in a while like, do you remember what time you had to be home when you were a kid? Well, it's when the streetlights came on. Well, heavens to Murgatroyd, that's exactly what it was. I can remember during the summer, I'd bust out of the house at 7:30 in the morning, hop on my bicycle and ride down the street, round up a gang of kids, and we'd go do something, go to the municipal swimming pool, go here, go there, go exploring up on the mountain, do all kinds of neat stuff, playing baseball, playing football. We always had something that was going on, and there was always enough kids around in the neighborhood to make sure you had a big enough team to do anything you wanted to. It was truly a joyful time in my youth and growing up. And I can remember my mom was always engaged in what we call today preparation. She was a prepper, even back in the 50s and 60s. I can remember as a very young kid, probably 4 or 5 years old, we had sort of a makeshift bomb shelter in our basement. When we went down the stairs, off to the right, there was a door that was lockable, and it was always kept locked because inside that little room was a pantry full of goods. There was blankets in there, there was bedding in there, a way to cook in there, so that if anything ever really did happen, and that was the big threat at the time during the Cold War, that we'd end up having to take shelter somewhere. There was no place in the backyard to put a bunker, so my dad fashioned this little bomb shelter thing in the basement, good thick concrete walls and all that. So that's what I can remember. And in that pantry, probably 6 feet tall and probably 6 feet wide, was just full of home canned stuff. Carrots and pickles and tomatoes and potatoes and canned meats and all that kind of stuff that my mom would put up to have in reserve just in case we needed it. And it was pretty common, I think, for folks to have enough put back in that day, back in the 50s and 60s, that folks, that's what they did. They had a little garden out in their backyards, and they'd grow tomatoes and carrots and onions and this and that, and they'd put stuff up. My grandparents were still around on my mom's side, and they were active in gardening and stuff like that. So there was always fruits and vegetables to go around. There was a number of farmers markets that were almost within walking distance of the house, where we could go and get a peck of potatoes or tomatoes or squash or beans, you name it. And that's what we did back in the day. And it's really fun to think back on the good times. I never thought it was unusual to see a pantry full of home canned goods in somebody's pantry, wherever it was, in their kitchen or in their basement or wherever they decided to put it. It was just a normal routine kind of a thing. And I guess as I got older and got more mature, I think I left a lot of that stuff behind. By the time I got out of high school and was going to college and starting to work here and there, times were tough. Money was pretty thin, so I didn't do a lot of preparation there. But when I met my wife and we got married, I realized that she had been a prepper all her life. She grew up on in a rural area on a farm. They raised cattle, they raised chickens, they had pigs, I think, from time to time. And, part of her job was, out in the fields in the summer to bring in the hay and feed the chickens and slop the hogs or whatever they were doing. She was part of it. She was the oldest girl with 3 older brothers and 3 younger sisters. And it was always a big family affair for them to work together to make that farm work out for them. Now, she learned to be innovative. She learned a lot of the skills. That's where she learned how to can and how to sew and how to cook. And I mentioned on other videos that because she was the oldest girl, a lot of the feminine activities around the farm fell on her shoulders to be her mother's right hand. And she learned how to cook for her 6 brothers and sisters, her mom and dad, and her grandparents. So altogether, we're talking, 10 to 11 people at any given point in time. So when she made stew, she made it enough for 10 people, 11 people. When she made Spanish rice or this or that, she always made enough to feed 10 people. And you know what? There's just 2 of us now, and she's still cooking using the same recipes. So when I see we're going to have Spanish rice, by goodness, I'm going to have Spanish rice for the next 4 days, and that's going to be it. It's going to be a main dish one day and a side dish for the next 3 or 4 days. So anyway, the point of the story, the point of all this reminiscing is how important being prepared really is. And I learned the lesson, I think, a long, long time ago, that having a store, having a backup of your food supplies ready to go was just what people did. And as I got older and I could afford to do things, that's what I started concentrating on. And I really think that more people need to do it. This just-in-time inventory control stuff that we see businesses getting in trouble with right now with the supply chain stuff, a lot of folks that I know do just-in-time groceries, just-in-time gasoline, just-in-time whatever. So, hey, they don't know how to bake bread. So they go to the store and buy a loaf of bread. And then 3 days later, when that loaf is gone, they go back to the store and buy another loaf of bread and pick up a quart or gallon of milk or whatever they buy. And that's how they do it. They don't have 3 or 4 days worth of backup in their pantries, in their kitchen, in their refrigerators, in their storage rooms. And I'm concerned about those kind of folks that think that the just-in-time process is going to be available to them at all times. I don't think it's going to be. I think we're going to be facing some very interesting times, and the best way to be prepared is to be as self-sufficient as you can. I've rambled on long enough. This is the Prepared Suburbanite reminding you to be prepared always, and I'll see you all on the next video.